It's kind of wild, but something like 90% of startups don't make it. And a huge reason why? They run out of money, or they get the wrong kind of money. So, if you've ever had one of those brilliant, game-changing ideas, but just felt completely stuck on how to actually fuel it, you have come to the right place. Today, we're going to decode the whole world of startup funding and turn this confusing mess into a clear map. Let's get into it. Right? This is it. This is the question that literally keeps founders staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. It's the one thing that stands between a genius idea on a napkin and a company that could actually change the world. So for the next few minutes, we're going to tackle this thing head on. Here's the game plan. We're going to start by asking the right questions before you do anything else. Then we'll dive into the 5 main ways you can get capital. After that, we'll get real about the trade-offs, how to mix and match your strategy, and finally, what actually happens when someone says yes. It's the whole journey, from idea to investment. Okay, first things first, before you even think about putting together a pitch, you gotta look in the mirror. Your funding strategy, it's like a roadmap. You wouldn't just jump in a car for a road trip without knowing where you're going, right? Same deal here. The best strategy isn't about chasing the biggest possible check. It's about finding the exact right kind of fuel for your specific journey. So what are you trying to do, right now? Are you just trying to fund some early research and development? Or are you ready to pour gas on the fire and scale up your sales team? And where are you, really? Just an idea? A minimum viable product? Or are you already growing and ready for expansion? Just answering these 2 questions honestly will instantly narrow down your options and point you in the right direction. All right. Now that we have that foundation, let's get into the good stuff. We're going to explore the 5 main vehicles you can use to fund your company. Think of these like different tools in your toolbox, and each one is designed for a very different job. First up, the one you always hear about: equity. This is the world of angel investors and venture capitalists. They write you a check, and in return, they get a piece of your company. The huge, massive plus: you don't have to pay that money back. But, and it's a big but, you're giving away a slice of your ownership pie forever. Next, we've got debt. This is the classic approach. Think bank loans or a line of credit. It's kind of like taking out a mortgage on your business. You borrow money, you pay it back with interest. The key advantage here, and it's a big one, is you keep 100% of your company. No one else owns a piece of it. The catch? You have a bill to pay every single month, whether you're crushing it or having a slow period. Then there are grants. And yeah, this is basically free money. No repayment, no giving up ownership. But it's not a free-for-all. Grants are usually for very specific, often mission-driven projects. And that application process, it can be incredibly long and super competitive. So great if you can get it, but it's a tough path. Now, here's a clever little hybrid, the convertible note. This is super popular with really early-stage startups. Basically, an investor gives you a loan, but instead of getting paid back with cash, that loan converts into equity later on when you do a bigger funding round. It's a way to get cash in the door fast without having to argue about what your brand new company is worth just yet. And finally, a more modern option you're hearing more about: revenue-based financing. You get a chunk of cash up front, and you pay it back with a small percentage of your future monthly revenue. So payments go up when sales are great, and they go down when you have a slow month. You don't give up any ownership, and the payments are totally aligned with how your business is actually doing. Okay, let's just take a breath and look at all of that together. This table really breaks it down, right? Equity is for those high-growth, shoot-for-the-moon startups. Debt is great for businesses with stable, predictable cash flow. Grants work for those special, mission-driven projects. Convertible notes are perfect for that early-stage uncertainty, and revenue-based is a fantastic fit for businesses like SaaS or e-commerce. Seeing them side by side makes it all so much clearer. So now we know what the options are, but how in the world do you actually pick one? Well, it's all about weighing the trade-offs, and it really comes down to what matters most to you and your business. Think of these 5 things as your compass. They're going to help you navigate these tricky waters. How much control are you willing to give up? What's the real cost of this money? How fast do you need to get it? What kind of risk can you stomach? And maybe most importantly, does this funding source actually align with where you want to go in the long run? And this really boils it down to the most common dilemma for any founder: equity versus debt. It's the ultimate trade-off. Do you give up a piece of the future potential to avoid having a monthly bill, or do you keep every last scrap of ownership but take on the stress of that loan? There's no right answer here, just what's right for your business. And here's another huge one. Private money from investors or banks is usually a lot faster to get, but man, the stakes are so much higher if things go south.
Grants, on the other hand, are the lowest risk option out there. It's free money, but winning one can be a slow, painful, bureaucratic process with absolutely no guarantee of success.
So here's the thing. You don't always have to pick just one. In fact, some of the smartest founders out there, they diversify. They create a strategic mix of different funding types.
Check this out. A company might raise, say, 70% of its cash from equity investors to fuel those big, long-term growth plans. But at the same time, they might go out and secure a 30% grant for a very specific, maybe even high-risk R&D project. It's really smart, right? You match the type of funding to the specific thing you need it for.
Okay, you've picked your path, you've made your pitch, and you got a yes. Someone wants to give you money. First of all, congratulations, that's huge. But the journey is not over, not by a long shot. Getting funded is the start of a whole new, really important relationship.
It doesn't matter where the money comes from. Your funder is going to have expectations. They need a return on their investment, an ROI, and they have a timeline for that return. That's their exit horizon. And they're going to require governance, which just means you have to give them regular reports and updates. This isn't just a transaction, It's a professional partnership, and it's built on communication and accountability. And of course, the paperwork. Oh, the paperwork. Whether it's a term sheet for an equity deal, a loan contract, or a grant agreement, it is absolutely essential that you understand every single line. Seriously, this is where you hire a good lawyer to make sure you're protected and you're crystal clear on all of your obligations. Look, if you take only one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Funding is not just a check. It is a strategic partnership. It's a choice that will fundamentally shape the future of your company. It brings partners to your table, it sets expectations, and it provides the fuel that will determine how you grow. So please, choose wisely. And that brings us right back to the ultimate question that every single founder has to answer for themselves. It's a balancing act. There is no magic formula. There is only the right formula for you, for your mission, and for your vision of the future. So, what's your formula going to be? And that is our deep dive into the startup funding landscape. I really hope this gave you a much clearer way to think about your own journey. The world is waiting for that big idea you have. Now you have a better idea of how to go out there and get it funded.